Ropp Star gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone joining. Welcome to the Ropp Star Report. Appreciate everyone in the live stream. Marcos Cash said it best. What up, Panther Nation? Step on that like button on your way in, on your way out. So everyone on Twitter or Twitch, wherever you're watching, make sure you come over to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. That's the best way you can show your support to my channel. But feel free to get in that comment section on Twitter, because I think sometimes people who watch on Twitter don't realize that I can see your comments. So they don't get in the comment section. Or you can just come over to the YouTube channel and do that. Whatever you want to do. All right. No one's holding a gun to your head and forcing you to do anything. So today's Fan Discussion Fridays. I do have a couple topics of my own. We already got a couple questions in. So as today goes on, I might even open up the stream to you guys today. If people want to come in, that might be something that I might do. Also, if you guys just want to if you do have some questions or you have some topics that you would like to discuss, feel free to go ahead, join the Discord, or if you're already in the Discord, post them in there and you're going to get your voice heard. Or if you want to, because the chat's going to be going off, so I'm not going to be able to keep up with the questions. Make sure if you want to get a question or topic in and you're not in the Discord, you're going to have to send a comment or a super gift comment, right? Unfortunately, because once the chat gets going, I can't get everybody's comment. And it's hard to keep up. So, but I do want everybody's voice to be heard. I'm open to that. So feel free to and some of my mods, if you do see one, or see a good question or topic to discuss and someone comments it, even though, some of you guys that are in here that are mods, y'all can go ahead and star it. I might be able to catch it and see it or pin it, whatever a case may be. All right. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make sure you pound the like button, hit the subscribe. That's all I ask. And of course, if not, just get in the comment section. All right. Leave a comment. All right. So as we go throughout today's topics and some other things that we're going to discuss. So let's go ahead and get into the fan discussion. I think we got a couple in here already. So let's see here. Let me share my screen. We're going to get into the Discord because most of them have already been in the Discord, or most of the questions are already in the Discord. Actually, I'll make myself smaller. All right. So the first question I think came in was by Jen. She had a couple of questions actually. So she actually had this nice, beautiful question here. I'm going to highlight it. Basically, she asked, how important will preseason wins be? While we all know they aren't important in the overall picture, I'm just curious your take on it. For example, if we see a lot more progression and exciting plays, how much will the actual win mean to us as Panthers community if they go and ball out during the preseason, but still lose every preseason game? Will the morale of fans go up because we saw improvement, or down because it's technically a loss? Hope all that makes sense. No, it does make sense, Jen, if you're watching. How important is the preseason wins for the Carolina Panthers is basically what you're asking. And it's a great question. I would say preseason wins, while while not critical, I don't think they're critical in the grand scheme of things. I think it does carry some weight when it comes to the overall vibe and morale of the team and its fans. Because I mean, remember last year, right, guys? You could see that this team clearly really wasn't ready. I kept telling myself last year, it's just preseason. It's just preseason. And of course, we kept hearing about the vanilla playbook. And I don't even like that word anymore, vanilla, ever, because all I think about is last year and get PTSD from it. But I kept saying it's preseason. It's just preseason. But honestly, it's. I don't think it's critical, but it does give you a good idea, at least a decent idea as to where this team is. I think preseason games are all about evaluating players. I think it's all about testing the strategies, building that chemistry. I think coaches are looking to see who stands out in preseason, right? Who fits where, how the new playbook is shaping up. So the final score, I think isn't as crucial as the process and the progression we see on the field. To your question, so let's say the Panthers are showing real improvement during these games, and players are making exciting plays, right? The offense is clicking, the defense is tightening up. Even if we end up losing those games, the signs of progress is a huge positive. Now, fans and some others will likely feel more optimistic because they'll see potential um, for the regular season. All right. Matt Chatter's coming in saying sign Tannehill. I hear Plummer's good at OTAs. Well, Matt Chatter, whoever told you Plummer was good at OTAs, they lied to you. I can show you clips about how Plummer was underthrowing guys and throwing the ball behind these guys. So Plummer was not very good at OTA. Someone lied to you. Uh, However, if we lose every preseason game, I think even with improvements, there might still be a bit of a damper on the excitement, right? Winning, after all, good, feels good. Definitely, it boosts the confidence. But most fans understand that the preseason is a time for where teams grow, right? They'll appreciate seeing the team heading in the right direction. So to kind of finish it off, preseason wins preseason wins aren't the be all end all kind of ordeal. I think it's about seeing the team's progress. Play well can definitely lift your spirits. The actual win or loss might be less important than the quality of play and promise it shows heading towards the regular season. So if the Panthers are balling out and showing real potential, then I think that your morale is going to be a lot higher, even if it's preseason and even if the scoreboard doesn't reflect that. So to your question, and shortly, it's not about wins. It's about them, to me, showing, like I said, the team showing progress and playing well, right? It's just the time to evaluate talent, test your strategies, and build that chemistry. So, yeah, well, that article, Mad Chatter, was wrong. That's I don't know what article you read. No offense. Marco says he's gonna take your football card away from you because of that. What's up, Panthers World? Appreciate you joining, man. Appreciate everyone in here. King Eight was in here. See you. Seabass came in here. SC Bast is in here. I don't think Icky performs less. I don't think. I didn't think like performance last preseason was a big deal until it was. Yep. Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely shows where this is at. Got another one from Jen here. She comes in. Can Shaq and Jewel be the new TD and Luke? I know the production level may be different and to be determined, but they've got the same chemistry as those two. As those two did. It's an interesting question. I think I would say Shaq Thompson and Josie Jewell could potentially bring some great chemistry. I think that solid play to our defense, but comparing them to Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, Jen, I think that might be a bit of a stretch, honestly. It might, and it maybe not a bit. It might be a little bit too much of a stretch because Davis and Kuechly were legendary duo, right? A legendary duo, right? They were known for that talent, their leadership, and understanding how of each other's playing styles. They set a very high standard in terms of production and impact on the field. While Thompson and Jewell could develop a strong partnership and contribute significantly, it's hard to predict if they reach the same level of dominance as Davis and Kuechly did during their prime. I think chemistry is crucial. I think any linebacker duo is definitely promising. If Thompson and Jewell are showing signs of good, synergy. However, the ultimate production and impact, I think that's still to be determined. They'll need him to grow together and prove themselves consistently on the field before they can be anywhere close to Davis and Kuechly. All right. So to your question there, Jen, I would say no. Tannehill, Red Rocket, based on last year, Dalton was better than Bryce, but Dalton stinks. I don't know him from Adam in the Bible. Oh, my God. You're saying Tannehill's better than so you're saying Tannehill's better. So Matt Chatter, you're telling me that you believe Tannehill is better than Andy Dalton? You're telling me Ryan Tannehill is better than Andy Dalton. Ever was? Here's the thing to that. Here's the thing to that statement right there. I could say this. Andy Dalton. Now, see now you're wrong. Now you're wrong because I'm gonna put you in your place now, Matt Chatter. Andy Dalton was known for his time in Cincinnati. That's where he spent most of his career. When he was there, he showed solid leadership and consistency throughout his career, right? He was known for his accuracy, his ability to manage games, everything, right? His career completion percentage was 62%. He has over 200 touchdowns and 100 interceptions. All right, over 200 touchdowns, and he's at like 100 interceptions. Ryan Tannehill, when he was at Texas A&M, he went to Texas A&M. If you don't know this, you obviously don't know ball then. Ryan Tannehill used to be a wide receiver. He didn't play. He was initially drafted as a wide receiver. He transitioned to the quarterback. Okay. He started his career in Miami, then found some success. Now I'll get it. He's known for his athleticism. He's known for his ability to make plays in the pocket. He's got that. He does have a decent arm strength on the move, right? Percentage completions around 65% over his career. But 200 and over 200 yards. But I will say this. He has fewer interceptions than Andy Dalton. I will say this. Dalton has been known to be more consistent and his ability to manage games effectively throughout this career. So if you're going to choose between it depends on the specific team needs, I would say, and the style of offense you're running. I will say Tannehill probably had better efficiency metrics, but his completion percentage and interception rate compared to Dalton, he's definitely a better mobile quarterback, which adds another dimension to his game. But Andy Dalton was way more consistent than he was throughout his career, and he managed games a lot more effectively throughout his career. So I'm taking Andy Dalton all day. I want a Rattler, at least maybe it may be entertained. I mean, again, I wouldn't have been okay with that. I would have been okay with the Rattler thing to bring in some competition too, Matt Chatter, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. There was a lot of rumors about it. Matt Chatter's going off today. Jen, I answered both of your questions, hon. I don't know if you were in here. Unless Bryce gets hurt, none of that will ever matter, right? I know. Whatever point you're making, because they both stink. Okay, so now they both stink. Leave. All right, let's get in here real quick. I think we got some more. Okay, I'm gonna copy this because I want to put this into my question notes. Because I want to put this in my question notes so I don't forget it. So I'm gonna add that in there. Marco's Cash. I am making a little cheat sheet of my questions for you guys, so I don't forget them. Let me add this to my question sheet because I want to do it in order. All right, perfect. Okay, there we go. All right. So then we have another question here that came in by Neo Shadow. All right. Neo Shadow came in with the question basically saying, how much time do we give Bryce Young? All right. It's always tough to navigate this kind of question, right? It's always tough to navigate a season that's not going as planned, right? Especially when it comes to the quarterback situation, right? If Bryce Young were to struggle, okay, similar to last season, it's natural to start questioning, how long do we stick with this guy? Okay. Typically, terms and fan bases give quarterbacks a reasonable amount of time to develop, all right, and show improvement. For someone like Bryce Young, I think there has been some potential there, right? But the fans might give him a fair portion of the season, possibly around 8 to 10 games, or even a full season to demonstrate growth and adjust to the demands of the NFL. If he's consistently underperforming or making critical mistakes that hinder for this team's success, there may come a point where patience just wears thin, right? At that juncture, the coaching staff and management, they're going to likely assess whether to make a change. It's all about finding that balance between giving him a chance to learn and succeed while also ensuring that the team remains competitive, right? Ultimately, it's a hypothetical scenario. These are all hypothetical questions. right? I think you guys as fans should understand the ups and downs of football season, right? So keeping expectation realistically helps to maintain a perspective and support the team through whatever challenge arises. Okay. Now, to this next question, because it kind of ties into here, what are my thoughts on the reports of Bryce won't be a vocal leader? Is it Bryce that isn't that type of leader, or is Canales doesn't want to put that much on Bryce in his first really in their first regular season together? Again, that's another good question. I think when it comes to reports saying Bryce won't be a vocal leader, I think it could be a few things on there. First off, it might just be that Bryce not being that type of leader naturally. Some guys lead by example, I don't need to be yelling in the locker room, I feel like, to inspire their teammates, right? Some guys don't need to do that. Maybe Bryce is more about showing up early, okay? Putting in the work and letting his performance speak for itself on game day. But then again, it could also be a strategic move by Canales, especially in their first season together. Matt Chatter, you need to make up your mind. Because for a while there, you were defending Bryce a little bit. Now you're in here saying that Bryce Young is the Joe Biden of QBs last year. Shake my head. He doesn't need to win. If he doesn't win 9 games, he needs to look like he has a clue. No deep ball, no looseness on the guy. He's extremely undersized. I want Bryce as a loud leader or later. Matt Chatter, make up your mind. Are you with the guy or are you against the guy? Because 1 minute it's like you were defending him, and then the next minute you're like, well, this guy sucks. I'm confused. But back to this question. All right. So again, I don't think you need to be yelling in the locker room to inspire teammates. I think if you show up, I think Bryce Young, if he's showing up early, he's putting in the work and then lets his performance speak for itself on game day. But then again, it's also about, it could also be a strategic move by Canales, especially in their first season together. I think coaches often ease quarterbacks into leadership roles, especially with new teammates or new coaches. They might not want to overwhelm Bryce with too much right off the bat. It's like building trust and chemistry slowly, both on and off the field. So, plus every team dynamic is different. Some quarterbacks take charge from day one, while others grow into that role over time. So, maybe Canales and Bryce are just figuring out the best way to match their styles, personalities. Could be a case of waiting to see how development as the season progresses. I don't get you, Matt Chad. I really don't. Because you even agreed with me that the separations were issue, the coaching staff was an issue, David Tepper was an issue, Scott Fitter was an issue. You agreed with almost every statement I made last year about defending Bryce Young. I'm so confused with you, Matt Chatter. I can't get it. I don't get it. Anyways, I wouldn't read much into that leadership thing just yet. I think let's see how Bryce settles in and how this team responds. All right. Sometimes the best leaders emerge when you least expect it. All right. It could be a case of just waiting and seeing how things develop as the season goes on. So, but that's a good question, Marcos. That's a good question. So, great questions from everyone so far. Great questions. So if you have any more, feel free to join the Discord. You can put them in there, or or you can do a super chat. All right. Yeah, Jarvis, he is. Yeah. But as we look ahead to this 2024 season, guys, I mean, here's the thing. Here's some things that we need to discuss right now when we're looking at this Carolina Panthers roster, man. I still have some issues, okay, with this roster. Okay. And I'm gonna use PFF for right now. Again, there's still a couple weaknesses on this team. All right. I think Dan Morgan did a lot this offseason to patch up this roster. That's a team that's trying to go from 2 wins. Unfortunately, if we're being realistic, it's a team that's trying to go from 2 wins to basically 6 or 7. All right. Unfortunately, we are having to accept mediocre because we were below mediocre last year. So the first things first, the left tackle position. All right. I still think we're weak here. Yeah, we beat up the interior offensive line, but with Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis, yeah, we did that. It should give Bryce Young more time to chill in that pocket. But there's pressure on Ike Ekwonu too. Because he even admitted last year he got too comfy last season. He got too comfy. So it's do or die time for him this year. Because if he falters again, Morgan might end up eyeing some replacements faster than you can say protect the quarterback. I think Ike Ekwonu is a weakness at this point, guys. That's a good question. I like that question, Jarvis. I like that question. I like that question, Jarvis. That's a good question. But Ike's got to step it up this year, guys. I mean, he has to. I do like that question, though. Am I not sharing my screen? Oh, Jesus. Here we go. I like this question by Jarvis, which I'm going to answer it real quick. Which new addition does anyone think that Bryce Young will help the most? I think that it's often about pieces around him that he, can elevate his game, right? But also who's going to have the biggest impact? I think one of the most crucial areas is the offensive line. So I think, Robert Hunt and Ike Ekwonu, those type of guys, I feel like the left guard position, whether it's Brady Christensen or Damian Lewis, I think Brady Christensen's good at the left guard position. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Damian Lewis was a great signing. Don't get me wrong, but I think Brady Christensen's very good, right? I think another thing is when you look at the wide receiver room, who's that reliable target besides Adam Thielen, right? But Ike's got to step up for that offensive line. I think Robert Hunt's a good one. I think Damian Lewis. From the offensive line standpoint, it's those 3 guys. It's Ike, Robert Hunt, and Damian Lewis. Okay. You probably could also put Austin Corbett in there because the center position is key, right? That's kind of your your general on the offensive line, right? That kind of solidifies that offensive line. The wide receiver talent, again, it's going to be Mr. Reliable is definitely Adam Thielen, but besides Adam Thielen, it's definitely Deontay Johnson, right? I think because he runs crisp routes. He can stretch the field. So it opens up the passing game. I think the running back room is another one. It kind of comes down to multitude of things, Jarvis, right? I think a reliable tight end definitely would help. Whether that's whether that's Brooks or Tommy Trimble, or hell, if it finally ends up being Ian Thomas, right? Because Ian Thomas, just like Marcos, I think Marcos Cash said it too, has been making some plays, right? Has been making some plays. So, Jarvis, to your question, I think it comes down to multitude of things. I could even say coaching, right? New coaching or offense coordinator who, these guys, Canales and Ezek, they understand Bryce's strengths. They're going to tailor that offense to maximize his abilities. So I think it comes down to multitude of things to that question, Jarvis. And that was a great question, by the way. It's a great question. All right. So great question here by Jarvis. I think that's that's a great question. And I actually want to answer this question too, from you there, Mad Chatter. I want to answer this question real quick. Okay. I want to answer this question. I think that the number of games Bryce should get to show the roster was the main, to show that the roster was the main issue last year can depend on several factors, I think. Right. But it comes down to the context of the team. Is the team rebuilding, dealing with injuries, or adjusting to new coaching staff or systems? I think these factors can significantly impact a quarterback's performance, right? Strength of opponents. Sometimes the schedule can be tough. That's another thing. Strong opponents, right? Early in the season make it hard for any quarterback to shine. Development and progress. It often takes time for a quarterback to adjust to the NFL level, develop chemistry with their teammates. Few games might not be enough to accurately assess their impact. All right. I think generally quarterbacks are more often evaluated over multiple seasons to gauge their true potential and impact. However, it's more important to consider improvement over time and how Bryce adapts throughout this season. So that's my answer to your question. Yeah, but that was a great question by Jarvis. D Perkins, what's up, man? That's a good question. Good Lord. A really good question. It's been a long time, Mad Chatter. I would have to probably say, and if I thought, I would have to think about it for a second, because if you gave me give me a minute to kind of think about that. I mean, we've had some memorable off seasons over the years. I think this one has created a lot of buzz for sure, right? I think this one has created a lot of a buzz. I mean, if we're talking about the best offseason in recent memory for them, it might be this one, because they made some key moves. But they also made some moves that made you scratch some heads. I still think that the Leggett, Brooks, and Jadavion Sanders, just that trio alone is your future right there on the offense. I think that trio alone is the future of your offense. Whether Trayvon Wallace turns out to be great, Derek Brown's is still our future on the defense. I think if Trevor Wallace pans out, he's another guy. If J.C. Horn stays healthy, he's another guy for the future, right? So, you bring in Bryce, if that's who you mean, right? He's still the potential's there. Can he really shake things up? Coaching changes have made some. They made some changes, right? which could bring in some, that's a good question, man. I don't know if it's the best offseason, though. Can we just say the year that we drafted, could we say the best offseason was or best draft we had was when we drafted maybe Luke Kuechly? Or can we say the best draft we had was when we drafted, just because we drafted Cam Newton? Those kinds of guys. I don't know. But we made some smart draft picks, right? We picked up a lot of promising young talent, like I said. We got active in the free agency. We brought in some veterans. It feels like they made a lot of moves, right? And it feels like they strengthened up this roster. I think that we are setting ourselves up for success. I think a lot of people are saying, well, is this a true rebuild? Again, I think people need to realize one thing when it comes to this offseason. This is not a true rebuild, because it's only been one offseason. A true rebuild takes more than one offseason. You're not going to fix every position group with a Pro Bowler or a guy who's a veteran, who's even just a star. You're not going to fix it in one offseason. So I think it's just a matter of of seeing how it all comes together. As for the defense, I really wish the Panthers can get Justin Simmons or another key piece for the secondary in case gets hurt again. At least have a plan for the weakest part. Yeah, I think Jarvis, their plan is to go out and get is on the waiver wire, right? I think they're going to go out and they're going to get out to the waiver wire. Because that's all they've been talking about. It's definitely crucial. And I appreciate you saying that. That kind of leads me into my next thing here. Because, like I said, one of the issues I do believe still with this team is their left tackle position. I still think Ike Ekwonu, even though they shore up this offensive line with Hunt and Lewis, okay, right? But Ike Ekwonu came out last year and said he admitted that he got too comfy last season. So it's do or die time for him in year 3, right? And if he falters again, we're going to have to be eyeing some replacements, right? I think another thing is the edge rusher room. We waved goodbye to Brian Burns. We waved goodbye to Frankie Luvu. We were snubbed out of contract offers with Frankie Luvu. Brian Burns' situation, we know how that was going on. That was going on when we turned. That was going on. This whole contract talk was going on before when we turned down 2 first-round picks, right? YGM is over at the 49ers now. So we have our hopes on Clowney and DJ Wanum to fill those shoes, right? They've got the talent's there for sure, but they're both have been injuries, and that could be a huge buzzkill. We've got Zilt backup depth in that position, right? If we go look at this backup depth on the roster here, right? We go look at the edge defenders. I mean, maybe this Cam Gill guy turns out good. I mean, he's got great grades here, but it's like, how many games did he play? I mean, is this just in one game? I'm assuming this is just in one game. I don't know. Kavlon Chasen, can he turn into that first round pick that he was drafted back in 2020, as we see here? Can he be that guy? Can DJ Johnson finally break through? Right? That's an issue too. But yeah, let's not forget about the cornerbacks. All right. So let's, we look at that cornerback position, right? And this is your starting lineup right here. You got Jackson, Hill, and Horn. Dante Jackson's gone. He's to the Steelers. CJ Henderson wasn't exactly setting the world on fire. So it's looking thin out there in that position, right? Because JC Horn right now is our beacon of hope. And y'all know how I feel about that. I think it's a make or break season for JC Horn because he's been on the injury report more times than I've cleaned out my garbage. I'm gonna be honest, and I hate to say that because I'm a huge JC Horn fan as a Gamecock fan. I mean, we ended up getting Dane Jackson, and we re-upped Troy Hill, but it's still a dicey situation in that corner room. And if Horn can't stay healthy, our secondary might turn into a buffet for opposing quarterbacks. I'm just saying. There was so this is a good question by Mad Chatter here. So Mad Chatter coming in with this question saying, there was a against NFL Ticket, okay. There was a 14 billion antitrust lawsuit against the NFL Ticket. Will that impact the league? That's a good question. That's a good question. Will that impact the league? A lawsuit of that magnitude, Mad Chatter, could lead to substantial financial penalties or settlements if they're found liable, for sure. That could affect the NFL's revenue and financial stability in some way, depending on the outcome, for sure. Legal battles and negative publicity like this can damage the league's reputation, for sure. This could impact attendance, sponsor deals, overall perception of the NFL. Because antitrust issues, when you hear about antitrust issues, that often draws regulatory attention. So if the lawsuit raises concerns about the NFL's market practices or completion policies, it could lead to further scrutiny from governmental bodies, because depending on that outcome, the NFL may have to make some changes to its ticket policies and practices to really comply with legal requirements, or to avoid similar issues in the future. Because the impact will depend on the lawsuit progress and whether it results in a settlement or judgment against the NFL. And that the league is going to have to adapt to whatever changes are required. It's very complex. It's very complex and drawn out. Potentially, the aspects of the NFL operations and standing with the sports industries. There's various aspects of how that could turn out with the NFL Ticket from a law perspective. I think a sports bar probably started that lawsuit. I could be wrong. Honestly, Marcos, I haven't read too much into it. I just know the financial impact and the and a little bit about legal battles, and antitrust issues. But when it comes to that stuff, I've read a little bit about it. I don't remember where it came from. I just know a little bit about it. I don't know the full details. I just gave you what I know. Man, maybe more than some know, but still. All right, let's move on. So here's the thing, guys. PFF came out and said, PFF came out and said that our running back room. Look at this. PFF has Brooks starting, by the way. PFF has Brooks starting. So if we look at this roster, we go to the running back room. PFF came out and said that this roster right here, actually last year coming in, it was 27th in the league last year. Our run game. Let's see if that's right. I wonder if I can go from team grades. It just gives me team grades. Okay. So team grades. But, I think that's going to change now, because if we look at this roster, right? If we looked at this roster from a half-pack perspective, okay? You bring in Rashad Penny, you add in Jonathan Brooks, okay? Those are fresh faces that are going to be joining the likes of Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard, okay? Okay. They added some serious depth, right? They aimed at reviving Carolina's run-heavy offense, right? So despite the low ranking they gave them, I wouldn't say that we're waving the white flag. Don't wave the white flag just yet, because I've got eyes on Chuba Hubbard, who quietly held his own last year. 16th out of 59 running backs, as you can see there, which is way above average. But the real excitement to me is all about Jonathan Brooks. Okay. I would call him the cream of the crop when it comes to rookie running backs. Okay. The guy had a 92.0 rushing grade last year. Okay. Sure, I would say the concerns of Jonathan Brooks coming off an ACL tear, but if he bounces back strong, this group could surprise a lot of people, especially if they revamp after they revamp this offensive line and those guys paving the way. So I think that 27th ranking by PFF right now, there's a vibe that things are looking up. The upcoming season will tell us if this optimism pays off with some serious yardage and wins on the ground. So I think our running back room is perfect. It's right where it needs to be. Is Penny got any in the tank? I think Matt Chatter, he's going to be more of a special teams guy, right? I think he's going to be more of a special teams guy. I think he's going to contribute in that, and he's going to be your third down kind of back, short yardage, third down back. And I think that's the best way he's going to stay on the field and stay on this roster. He's just not an every down back anymore. Jarvis, that's a good, you make a good point. You make a good point there, honestly. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it at all. Because I think you have every right to feel that way, especially with the optimism that the new additions bring to a team. Power rankings can be subjective based on whatever preseason expectations, right? Whether but current roster evaluation, other factors, right? We made some significant moves, right? Draft, free agency. Okay. That there's a lot of potential there, but a lot of unknown. Okay. It's a lot of unknown. So that's why they gave us these rankings. A lot of people do that. They don't know. We don't know. Rankings at this stage are often speculative anyways. They're hypothetical. They're based on projections rather than what's happening on the field. So teams make notable changes. They may see their rankings adjust. So as the season progresses, those results will be more evident, right? And optimism and reality, optimism's natural for fans. Teams during the offseason rankings also consider the strength of the competition in the league, historical performance, adjustments in rankings can occur based on preseason's performance and early results. So, I get why you feel that way. Don't get me wrong, Jarvis. Guys, I love having dual screens because I can see like both chats going on right now. I can see both chats going on right now, which is great. Guys, make sure you pound that like button on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss any new content. Yeah, keep the good comments coming. Keep the questions coming. Keep the comments coming. Still got some more stuff to talk about here as we move forward. I think someone actually just sent me a message on the Discord. Let me see. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. I just didn't want to make sure I didn't miss anybody's questions or topics. Actually, I want to check Twitter real quick. I don't know. Don't see anything in there. Make sure I got them on a YouTube community chat too, so I'm just making sure. All right, so we ain't got nothing else in there. We ain't got no more questions in there, but you can go ahead and flood the chat with y'all's questions or whatever. Clay, Rumble pays good. Rep our Panthers on there too. I have a Rumble account. I just haven't used it. I haven't used it. I don't know, and I don't know how to use it because I haven't messed around with it yet. Panthers Oral comes in and says, pound that like button, baby. Appreciate it, guys. Let's talk about Bryce. Let's get into the Bryce Young thing. All right. Well, and then if y'all have any more questions as we go throughout, I'll get to them. Let's get to Bryce Young. I'm gonna go share this tab instead. Oh my God. Why do I? Let's go to his page. Can we go to his premium stats for the love of God? Thank you. All right. Now let me share this page instead. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. So, part of this video, part of this live stream is, of course, it's talking about a lot of things, right? It's part about Bryce Young. It's also, for you guys, and we're going to talk about Jonathan Brooks here a little bit shortly, but this guy, our first overall pick, supposed to be the face of the franchise. He's on a mission to prove all you guys who are doubters wrong, right? In this second, and I call this chapter 2, right? Last year, it had its rough passes for Young. You can't dwell on the past, though. That's a part of the game plan here. It's all about looking forward. Everyone wants he's made of under. Everyone wants to see what he's made of under Dave Canales, right? I mean, we're betting big on this guy. They've surrounded him with talent, signaling their belief in potential to lead this team to glory. It's on him to deliver and silence any long-term concerns and about whether he's the right guy for the job or not, right? Canales has been laser focused on refining this kid's game, upgrading the supporting cast. It's all for Young, and if it doesn't smooth out the rough edges before the kickoff against the Saints, it's crunch time, and every snap in practice counts now. A lot of people, a lot of people, or I think in the most recent press conference, or I think something we heard was his mindset heading into this new season. He's done playing like he's a robot, like robotic. Instead, he's embracing his emotions a bit more, which is allowing himself to be real and react to what's happening around him, right? Last year, I felt like Bryce Young was in survival mode. You're navigating a disjointing coaching situation, a leaky offensive line, but now Canales at the helm, there's a sense of stability and direction here, right? Canales is known for his knack with quarterbacks. He's looking for a quick fix with Young. It's about building a strong foundation, crafting a playbook that plays to Young's strengths, a stark contrast to the confusion of previous regimes. There's a palpable change in Young this offseason. He's more focused, more determined. He's stepping up as a leader in the locker room. Last season, he'd rather not talk about it. This year is about growth. It's about proving his worth in this system that finally makes sense for him. It's still early in the days, the Young's path to this whole redemption, I guess you could say. But as of what we've seen, signs are promising. But again, these are just practices. These are just OTAs. These are mini camps, right? But I think each practice and each meeting, it's like an inch closer, right, to reclaiming this narrative, right, proving he's that guy, right? And I think that the question of this thing is what if Bryce Young doesn't work out, right? What if he doesn't work out? I mean, he isn't going alone in 2024, right? We doubled down on that offense this year after last year. So I would definitely say the expectations are higher. New faces, fresh schemes. I think the expectations are higher. But again, this is a whole new coaching staff he's dealing with. So should the expectations be higher? Right? Because he's learning a whole new playbook. He's learning from the ground up all over again. He's learning a whole new coaching staff, a whole new offensive line. He's learning building chemistry with those guys, the wide receivers, the new tight ends, the new running backs. But I will say it's time to see if this investment's going to pay off. Because first off, the offensive line, you got the serious upgrades. That should, with Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. And that should buy him so much needed time in that pocket. You brought in Dave Canales, who's this guy who's supposed to be this quarterback guru. You're building the perfect stage for Young to shine. But let's talk about the firepower. They pumped out what's brewing with our new wide receiver duo and Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette. Johnson came from Pittsburgh. He's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's primed for a breakout here, honestly, Deontay Johnson. I think he's perfect for Bryce Young and the scheme that we're going to be running. He didn't light it up on the scoreboard but with the Steelers, but now he's got a real shot to be a star here in Carolina. Then there's Legette, right? You got Xavier Legette. Rookie phenom, snagged him in the first round. Raw, but lots of potential. Dave Canales this offseason has had his workout cut out for him since he's got here, but he's also got his work cut out for him refining Legette's game because of that size and speed. And if he can do so, the sky's the limit with the kid. He's not let's not forget about Mr. Reliable Adam Thielen holding it down. Jonathan Mingo's looking to bounce back. I think even TMJ is looking to bounce back. We just saw them together. There's a picture going around, of course, them hanging out at I think a Dodgers game in LA. We're banking on this kid's resurgence. And rightfully so. Last year wasn't smooth sailings, but now you have an arsenal at his disposal. He's got every chance to prove the doubters wrong. If Johnson and Leggett can deliver, it could be looking like a whole new ballgame in Carolina. But hey, if they don't click, it's back to the drawing board. Right? And Dave Canales has shed a lot of light throughout this whole thing. How Bryce Young leads the Panthers, he's emphasized those actions over words, right? He's saying that actions speak louder than words with Bryce Young. Because he's only 22 years old, soon to be 3 months from now. Or actually, it's funny. He's July 25th. I'm actually July 26th. So he's actually 1 day ahead of me, but I'm older. So soon to be 23. He's more on the quiet side. Young's leadership has to shine through his work ethic on the field and performance, right? Again, we were talking about this earlier. Young isn't that type of guy to rally the team with these furious speeches. Instead, I feel like he addresses them after practice, recognizing achievements areas needing to work. Jadavion Clowney was vocal about it. Acknowledged that Young's reserved approach. I think what this kid can influence in dismissing setbacks as part of the journey. The method may differ from the norm in the NFL, but it's winning respect and pushing this team ahead, right? So here comes to the question. Because we're banking on Bryce Young to be our franchise guy. So I think this is a tough conversation that nobody really wants to have, and that's why I brought it up today. I think, what if he doesn't pan out? What if Bryce Young doesn't pan out? It's a question that nobody wants to ask just yet, given all the chaos he faced in his rookie year. I mean, think about it. We've had a revolving door of coaches, an O-line that couldn't protect him, receivers struggling to get open, a run game that fizzled out. It was a rough start. You hire a young, offensive-minded head coach, right, who's got all the juice, right? Got all the juice. He got the gig because of his track record. I'm telling you right now, Dave Canales got this job because of his track record with quarterbacks, with the likes of Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, and Baker Mayfield. There's that genuine belief that he can mold this kid into a top-tier quarterback. But what if that doesn't click? What if the optimism surrounding this duo turns out to be wishful thinking? If the Panthers end up with another lackluster season, maybe just 4 to 6 wins, they'll be eyeing a high draft pick again if Bryce doesn't show significant improvement. The QB question will be looming large. It's a tough spot because, again, let's face it, 2 years isn't much to judge a quarterback, I will be honest, especially when the first year was basically a write-off due to all the turmoil. It should be a write-off. I'm inclined to give Young more time. Because here's the thing, we invested heavily to snag him in the draft that in 2023. We thought we had this stable coaching staff, the system. It feels like now, though, with this coaching staff and system that they're implementing and that we keep hearing about, he has a real shot to shine here. I'm going to say this. I think we should call last year 0, because this is a true test for year 1. The key for Young is to elevate the play around him and erase any doubt about season's end. Even if the Panthers pick high in 2025, it might not slowly be on him. The run game, the receiver consistency, the defensive lapses could all play a part. The bottom line is, though, is that we can't afford guys to question Young's future come 2025. He's their guy, or at least that we hope he is. But, here's to hoping he can prove it. But I will say this. It's just like to our poll question. All right? It's just like to our poll question. All right? What are we going to do? What's next? Right? What's next for Bryce Young? I think that's a good question, because it starts with, I'll say this. It's probably going to start with the draft. They're going to evaluate the draft. You know what I mean? They're going to evaluate the draft to see what's out there, whether it's Carson Beck, Shador Sanders, Quinn Ewers, or whether it's or maybe it's Dart out of Ole Miss, or maybe it's Jalen Milroe. I don't know. I don't know. There's a difference between reality and optimism, right? There's a difference between reality and optimism. And it's natural for us fans and teams during the offseason to be optimistic, right? But then reality hits once the season steps in. I saw that question. I see that comment in there by Marcos talking about Matt Corral. Could they bring him back? I see that. So if Bryce doesn't develop into the franchise quarterback that we're hoping for, right? That we're hoping for. Okay. You're going to end up drafting. They'll end up drafting the quarterback. That's the most common approach, because it would look to be another quarterback in the future NFL drafts. They could involve trading up, depending on our record, right, to acquire a top prospect, or drafting a quarterback with the current draft position. I don't like this next draft class. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't like this next draft class. If we're talking about the top 2 guys, or top 3 guys, it's probably Quinn Ewers. Which quarterback would I rather have? I mean, it's a tough question, because it's like the three guys. You got Quinn Ewers, you got Carson Beck, you got Shedeur Sanders. Again, I would say those probably are the top three in this draft class. I think the choice depends on the team specific needs, right? Like for this team, which quarterback has the strengths and areas to growth that fit in with our team system, with Canales' system, ability to develop in a consistent performance, right? So if they were to, draft any one of these guys, Quentin Ewers or whatever. But, Jarvis is making a lot of good points in here. I mean, I see Jarvis said, was predicting for fun, injury predictions. Bryce history doesn't really raise some concerns to me, but Clowney, Penny injuries, those guys, those kind of guys do worry me when it comes to injuries, Jarvis. But when it comes to coaching and ownership dynamics, Jarvis, this is another thing. All right. It's promising to hear that the owner's giving more patience to this coaching staff this year, I feel like. Right? Winning games or showing improved effort will likely validate this approach, right? I think the potential leaders on this team are Adam Thielen, Clowney, Brooks, Sanders. I think their team, that chemistry. I think even Leggett could probably be one, even though you can barely understand him. But if he pans out, he could be a leader on this team, right? Leadership can come from unexpected areas, right? But giving Young time to develop and prove himself is reasonable. And if like I just saw Jarvis saying that he believes that he could be the next like Drew Brees. I don't know that. Can he potentially be another Drew Brees? I don't know. There has been a lot of talk about Drew Brees and Bryce Young's name, and when Bryce Young gets brought up about his comparisons, but having a contingency plan in place and fostering and regardless of who your quarterback is, it's a smart roster management. So if Bryce Young doesn't pan out, exploiting trade options could be on the table too, especially if Young's development progress. This is the unpredictable world of the NFL, guys. And the development of players can shape a season, right? It can shape up a season for sure. Mad Chatter, I saw that bet. That you're talking about. Honestly, you could bet on the Carolina Panthers right now. I think on, like, for example, BetUS, which is the sponsorship of the Ropp Report. You can use my link. If you go to my link tree, you can sign up for free today, get 125% bonus on your first bet. Okay. If I'm pretty sure I was checking it out, you could bet on the Carolina Panthers. I think it's like to win the NFC South. I think it's like plus 1,800 or plus 1,500. If you bet $100 now on that, I think you could win like 15 grand if it does happen. I'm just saying. Or I think there's even like a playoff one that's like, it's either the NFC South or it's the playoff one that's like 1,800. And then, of course, you have the over-under right now, which is 5.5 games. I'm thinking about taking the over because if they get 6, I don't know what the overall payout would be on that. I mean, Matt Chatter, if we go back and watch some of the game film, again, I can make the case that Bryce Young can throw for over 30 yards. I can make the case that he can throw for over 30 yards. He threw over, but the question is, can he accurately throw for over 30 yards? Can he put it in the numbers? Over 30 yards. I think, and I wouldn't even say 30 yards. I would say 40. Right? Can he accurately put the ball now over 40 yards in a game? We've seen that he can do it in minicamp. We've seen that he can do it in preseason. We've seen that he can do it in OTAs. We've seen that he can do it in training camp when it doesn't really matter. But can he do it when it does matter? Can he do it now when you have these guys that can spread the ball? He can spread the ball out now. You have a trio, and you've got guys that can rotate in and out. If Mingo and TMJ actually turn out to be halfway decent or what they were drafted to be, you might have one of the best wide receiver core. Here's the thing. Carolina has the potential, I think, to, and I know this might be a hot take. But I think Carolina Panthers have a chance to have one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL, especially if Deontay Johnson breaks out and has another 1,000-yard season. Adam Thielen continues to be that Mr. Reliable. Leggett turns out to be that first-round draft pick. And then if Mingo and TMJ show some promise all over again, you can make the case that we might have one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. You could make the case. And don't forget about Jalen Coker, wide receiver room, who's a sleeper. Yeah. Yeah, it stays in the air too long. He needs to learn how to put some zip on that ball, zip and touch, right? It's kind of like what we were talking about. He's got to learn how to, when it comes to the quick game, remember when we were talking about quick game, like Bryce needs to learn quick game, which we I already talked about it. But, there's the differences in quick game, right? Because there is differences in the quick game, right? Under center with quick game, your eyes are up, right? When you play with your eyes up, right? Your eyes are under center. Your eyes when your eyes under center are different than when your eyes are in gun. When you're under center, your quick game, your eyes are up. You play with your eyes up. Eyes under center. When your eyes are down, it's a killer. You got to throw with the laces and shotgun. In shotgun, there's no laces. You got to get the ball out in time. But you want to throw with the laces. In shotgun, no laces. It's different in quick game. You're usually a yard off under center. You kind of snap. It's kind of like you're snapping it to yourself when you're under center like that. You can't take the massive drop. A massive drop can kill you under center. It's one step drop under gun. It's a lot easier on your depth with the quick game for him. I think it's going to be great. You got to grip it and rip it. With his footwork that they're going to be working on, I'm telling you right now, with this 2.7 seconds with Bryce Young, they're working on his footwork. They want him to feel powerful when he steps into his throws. Load in your stance and throw. Because under center, he's going to do these 3-step drops. Under gun, it's mainly going to do like one of these 1-step drops. But the drop step, you sit in that drop step 3, you sit under center, right? you're sinking. And then you're one and you sit and gun. So it's a 3 sink footwork and you're shuffling back. But that's the issue. He's got to learn how to load and explode. When it comes to his footwork. That's why we saw a lot of erratic throws. Well, Jarvis, he doesn't try to go for the big plays. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. I think sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, because here's the reason why. When you don't go for the big plays, there could be an opportunity there. And there's times that really you need to make a big play. And I think sometimes in the NFL, you have to be willing to take risk and chances. Have the big plays. Right? So, again, but he did throw into a lot of tight windows last year. There's the chart that shows that. He threw a lot of balls in tight windows and had a great completion percentage, actually. I need to find that chart. I know I have it somewhere. But the deep ball wasn't there last year. It just wasn't. DJ Chark was not DJ Chark in Jaguar, that he was in Jaguars. If DJ Chark was what he was at the Jaguars, we might not even be having a conversation right now. And if Jonathan Mingo could have gotten open a lot more, especially if he was the first route read, because when he was the first route read last year, he was only getting open 25% of the time, guys. And I can show you, I got stats on that, and I can prove that too. But again, Bryce Young had 2.9 seconds. People talk about, well, Bryce Young had 2.9 seconds on the ball. Yeah, that's true. But he was also running for his dear fucking life. That's why he had the ball in his hands, because he was running for his life. So you can make the case. But I like the idea of 2.7 seconds. It's going to be all quick game. That's what they're going to be doing. I've explained to you guys what quick game is. It's literally just getting the ball out quick. It's literally it. I can give you all the footwork. And, pure quick game, I want people to realize this, that pure quick game is not what they're going to be doing, is not like what Dave Canales is going to be running with this quick game shit. It's not RPOs. I think a lot of people think when it's quick game, it's just getting the ball out quick, you're just going to throw a lot of RPOs. It's not. It's quick game reads. It's easy completion routes. It's half field reads mainly. It's half field reads. And what are half field reads? Well, it's easy. It's like hitch routes. It's fades routes. It's slant routes. It's easier to block, and it gets more completions, right? It's going to make him feel more confident. I'm telling you that. Young didn't make or go for big plays because he only had Thielen. Offensive line suck. No strong and truly reliant run game from running backs, but hey, we let the offense show us otherwise, right? Yeah, you could see the fear in his eyes last year. Hopefully the fear is gone in rookie jitters. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think we're going to see a lot more confident Bryce Young. I do. I'm hoping so, because I don't know if I can rely on this 2025 draft class. I don't know if I can rely on this 2025 draft class. Because I'm not sure if Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck or Shedeur Sanders are going to be any better. Quinn Ewers might be the best pick for Carolina just because he has chemistry with Brooks and Shedeur Sanders, right? Carson Beck, I'm not too sure about. Shedeur just comes with too much baggage. And then other than that, you got Drew Allard, Jalen Milroe. You got Dart out of Ole Miss, Drew Allard out of Penn State. Then really after that, there ain't much there. Maybe Cam Ward, but I don't even know if Cam Ward's going to be that good. And we'll see how he does in Miami. Well, another thing is, guys, and I think that's something we need to allude to. I think Bryce, to be at his best, is definitely going to determine on this offensive line. I think mostly, but of course these wide receivers getting open. But mainly, I think it's going to determine on the running back group, and here's why. What does the run game do? It's the same thing that we always talk about when we're talking football with our friends. What does it do? It opens up the pass. And it takes the pressure off the quarterback. And I think that's, and I'm still a big believer in that. And I think the value of the running back position has gone down, unfortunately. But I think the running back position here in Carolina, the value is going to be there. And Dave Canales has been very vocal about that. Very vocal about that running back position. Because, I mean, we could even say that maybe Jonathan Brooks could be that next guy, right? Could be that next guy to be maybe another, like, I know there's been a lot of talk out there, but maybe Brooks could be that next guy to be like a Jahmyr Gibbs type guy. There's no telling. Kind of have that same role. I would like to see Carolina use the running back room how Detroit used their running back room last year between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think that would, with like Chuba Hubbard, obviously it's going to depend on when Brooks can come back, right? I think it's going to depend on if Brooks can come back, but I think it depends on what quarterback's going to be available. I think that's a good question, Marcos. That's a good question. I don't know who's available next year. What quarterback free agents are going to be available next year? I'd have to look. Let me look. NFL free agent. That's a good question, Marcos. Well, as of right now, as of right now, here's the thing. You could go with Dak Prescott, Jordan Love. If we're looking at this from here. So to your question, Marcos, let me share my screen real quick. I mean, this is based off a spot tracker here. I mean, I think Tua's gonna end up getting signed. I think if we're looking at this list, it would be. I mean, if we're looking at this list, let me see who else. If there's any like young, any other young guys. I mean, Russell Wilson, but how old is he? 36. There's no telling if what's going to happen with him. I mean, I guess you would have to throw Russell Wilson in that mix. I mean, so who would I rather have is the question. It's a tough call, man. They all make a case because, like, all right, so when we look at this list, right? When we look at this list, all right, when we look at this list of quarterbacks, I think Dak Prescott's gonna get signed. I'll be honest. I think he gets signed. All right. I think he gets signed. He's 31, right? He's 31. You know, it all depends too, because like I think Jordan Love is a young quarterback. He has had limited experience, but he had most of his backup time with Aaron Rodgers. You know, for me, it would be between these guys. We're looking at this list, right? Yeah, we're looking at this list. Okay, you asked the question. Yeah, we're looking at this list. I would say the top 5 guys on this list are Justin Fields, Scott, Jordan Love, Tua, and probably Russell Wilson. Okay? Probably Russell Wilson. I don't mind the Tyler Huntley guy as a bridge. Okay, Tyler Huntley as a bridge. Sure, I'm cool with that. But other than that, everything else is, or hell, maybe even take a chance on Tommy DeVito. You know what I mean? But you looking at this, the top 5 guys on that list is the ones I named. And maybe you take a chance with Trey Lance. Or you take a chance with Zach Wilson. I don't know. I think we'll see what happens with Zach Wilson in Denver, but Trey Lance might be the next guy up in Dallas because they haven't re-signed Dak Prescott yet or added to an extension for Dak. So if Bryce were to fail this coming year, yeah, I'd have to agree with you, Marcos, because here's the 2 reasons why, or 3 reasons why I would probably choose Jordan Love out of this list. Okay. He's a young quarterback, even though he's got limited experience, but he got to learn from one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Drafted as a development prospect upside, but his performance remains still improving. I mean, he did throw for 4,000 yards last year. Won a playoff game, right? But then the next guy, I'd probably say Justin Fields. I think it depends on how he does in Pittsburgh, right? Dual threat capabilities. He does got a strong arm. There is possibility there. He did show some promise, right? He showed some promise. He demonstrates some mobility, playmaking ability, potential franchise quarterback who could develop to a cornerstone for years to come. It just depends. And then I would probably say the next guy is probably Dak. I think Russell's on his way out. I probably then say Dak. I don't trust Tua. He's been a proven leader. He has the experience, strong passer with the ability to make both plays in the pocket on the move. He's led the Cowboys to some success when he's healthy. He's been considered a top tier quarterback. But out of that list, it's really those three. For me, it would be Jordan Love 1, Justin Fields 2, Dak 3. But just because the only reason I wouldn't say that I think Dak's better than all of those two guys, Jordan Love and Justin Fields. I'm just saying if I'm talking about the future and a guy long term, I'm taking the younger guys with higher upside. So that's to your questions, Marcos. John Harbaugh comes into a good one. John, appreciate that, John. He asked a good question here. Trying to see it for some reason, it went blank on mine. He's asked me, do you think it's more likely that Bryce busts than chance he becomes a franchise guy? So I guess the question you're at, let me make sure I have this correct. Are you asking that is it more likely that Bryce Young is a bust than he is a franchise guy? Of him becoming a franchise guy? Okay. Sorry. Because I was like trying to make sure I had this right. I mean, like I said earlier, I would say this to your question, John. I think Bryce Young was a highly regarded prospect because of his talent and potential, his IQ and all that, right? From his draft, right? I would say, however, to that, predicting whether he'll become a franchise quarterback or not, there's so many variables to that, right? Such as, to the development, right, of this year, this coaching staff, this team support, right? The wide receiver room, the running backs, the offensive line around him. And I would even say luck. I would even say the scheme. It's challenging to definitively say it's more likely to be us or franchise quarterback without seeing how his career unfolds. Because many factors can influence a player's success in the NFL. So that's what I would say to that. That's what I would say to that. I mean, John, you're not wrong. I mean, you're not wrong. I think Lawrence and Allen are only quarterbacks who were horrible in year one to turn good. Well, that's not true. Look at Peyton. I mean, you could also say Peyton Manning was horrible in his year one. You know, Peyton Manning was horrible in his year one. He threw more interceptions than he did touchdown passes in his year one. I mean, again, there are fair. That's fair. I mean, here's the thing. It's understandable. I'll be honest with you guys. It's understandable to see a variety of trajectories, right, among quarterbacks in the NFL. Like Lawrence and Allen, they did indeed struggle early on, but they improved, right? On the other hand, you had Darnold seeing ghosts, Wilson, Wilson's Wilson, Justin Fields, Winston, all these guys face challenges from the beginning, right? They have had varying degrees of success in adapting and developing in the league, right? Each player situation, though, guys, I will say, I think it's unique. Everybody's situation is unique and different. And every situation is influenced by factors. Like I told y'all, it's coaching, it's team support, it's personnel growth. It's important to allow for the possibility of development and changing over a player's career, as many factors contribute again to their success. Look at Geno Smith. You could make the case for him too. Clay, I think you think I care about Bryce struggling. I don't. It's the fact he showed zero. Oh my God. Matt Chatter. I don't think you know your shit from one hand into the other. Matt Chatter, what? Is that a threat? Is that a threat? Oh man. I will come around your blind side. That's fucked up, Matt Chatter. It's fucked up, man. That's what I'm saying, Marcos. That's what I'm saying. I would like to argue thing is Lawrence and Allen are freaks in nature compared to Bryce. It's like comparing an average high school wide receiver to DK Metcalf. It's hard to argue that statement a little bit. It's hard to listen, there are certain situations I can't argue with. I can't argue with it, right? I can't argue with it. It's funny though. It's funny. I mean, Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen are exceptional talents, guys. I will say that. I mean, physical skill attributes and skills and performances. I mean, comparing them to other quarterbacks, it's kind of hard. Playing style, developmental potential, the adaptability to the NFL game, it's different for every quarterback, right? Each quarterback has its unique strengths and challenges, and predicting their future success usually involves many. Again, I telling you, it involves very variable factors. I think it's for Bryce. It's just it's going to ultimately depend on how he develops and adapts. It's simple as that. I mean, it's simple as that. There's always, John, there's always surprises at the NFL draft. I mean, giving up the first overall pick, that includes, Caleb Williams. When we did it basically for Bryce, it was definitely a risky move. Especially with this next draft class. Definitely not as strong for quarterbacks, in my opinion, unless somehow these guys prove me wrong this year. When we watch these college games this year, we're definitely going to be a team. If Bryce doesn't pan out, we're going to have to be a team that balance our current needs with long-term planning when it comes to making those decisions. Because at the landscape of each draft class, that can vary very significantly. It can vary very significantly. Unless someone breaks out, Burrow, no QB in this draft class is as good as a prospect schedule for now. I mean, John, I don't even think. Listen, we'll see how Caleb pans out. He's nothing special to me. John, I do agree with you about Drew Allard. I like the guy out of Penn State. I like Drew Allard a lot. I agree with you on that, John. I was saying earlier, if we had to pick anyone out of this draft class, the top three guys are probably going to be Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, or Shador. But I do like Drew Allard. And if I was making a draft board today, Drew Allard would be my number one. Simple as that. I'm not high on Caleb Williams. He just doesn't do anything special for me. Now, he's coming into one of the best situations in football. And if he fucking shits the bed, that's either on him or that head coach. So there's no reason why Caleb shouldn't come out do very well this year. But I do like Drew Allard out of Penn State a lot. Yeah, agree to disagree. I mean, a lot of people have their choices on Caleb Williams. Everybody has their thoughts on Caleb Williams. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with that O line and the Bears. Let's look at the Bears O line real quick. Let's look at that lineup. Yeah, but here's the issue I have, John. Guy folds up like a cheap tent in the big games. He was like 2-8 against top 25 teams. But then everybody wants to say, like what you just said, has the most or second most touchdown passes for 3 years in a quarterback in college football history. Very true. But he was also one of the worst quarterbacks against top 25 talent. Well, so who they got? They got Braxton Jones, Trevin Wilkins, or Tevin Jenkins. Who they got here? Ryan Bates. But that right side ain't looking too good. Nate Davis had a good, terrible first year, but then solid through these 2 years and not too good last year. And then that right side, he was a rookie. Oh, I remember him. Darnell Wright. That's right. Okay. Yeah, that's who they got, though, Mad Chatter. I mean, they got, listen, I can't say they don't have a bad offensive line. That right side's very iffy. Bates came from the Bills. So we'll see. But they got a good corner room. Stevenson and Johnson's good. They got Bird, Brisker, Edwards, Edmonds. Don't know much about Sanborn. Still got Wet Sweat. Billings wasn't bad, but who the fuck do they got here? DeMarcus Walker. He's trash. He's trash. Edmonds sucked last year. He really hasn't been that good until when he was with the Bills last year or in 2022. Billings up and down, but solid for the most part. He's going to be nasty, though. Stevenson. Jalen Johnson's a stud. He's a stud. He's just going to get better. Edwards is a stud. Sanborn. I don't know much about Jack Sanborn. Oh, when I saw Wisconsin, now I remember him. Stud. Damn, Cole Kmet last year was 11th. Not bad. Swift was only 45. Wow. Absolute fucking stud. Dude, look at Keenan Allen. Look how consistently this guy has been through the league. Oh my God. Dude's a route running machine, man. And look at DJ. Got to give him credit, man. Consistent. John, you think Icky's an all-pro? I need to see that. Yeah, I mean, I can't. Again, he's coming into one of the best situations, man. So it's hard for me to say he's going to be a bust, John. I just don't like. He just doesn't do anything special for me. If Charleston got an NFL team, would you still like the Panthers? Yeah, I wouldn't change it, but it'd be sick if Charleston had an NFL team. I might be like, that's my second favorite team. D-line kind of weak, but damn, Tepper did a better job building them than the Panthers. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, John, David Tepper has everything, has a lot more, lot more variables there. He's benefited other teams instead of his own. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. That was fun to watch. Caleb might not be a generational talent, but his arm talent specifically is generational. We'll see. We'll see if it's generational or not. Again, I don't think the arm talent was that great at USC. I just he has a great tape. Whoever edits his tape and highlight reels and stuff like that does a great job hiding the weaknesses that I've seen in the games that I watched him play. And but everybody makes the case that his offensive line was trash and all this other stuff. Make excuses. Then if we're make the same excuse for others, then make the same excuse for others. I can say the same thing about Spencer Rattler. So, yeah, I watched the debate. I saw that's what it was. A complete clown show. So, all right, guys. Well, appreciate everyone joined the live stream today. It was a good show. I'm glad I got to answer everyone's questions and topics. I love doing the fan discussion Fridays with you guys. So, if you want to get your questions answered, man, normally I just do them in the Discord. Those are the ones I'll answer first. But I was opening up the chat to you guys today as well. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make sure you pound the like button, hit the subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Of course, if you want to take the extra mile, become a member today. Join the Discord for free. Also, click the link tree to all my social media. Also, join. It also will take you to our sponsorship, betus.com. Sign up for free today. You get 125% bonus on your first bet. So, appreciate y'all. I'm going to log off for the day. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll see y'all on Monday. Keep pounding. Peace.